Welcome to Bible Study. I'm Chaplain Harold Epley. I'm glad you tuned in again. Today we are going to be completing our Bible study using the book by Max Lucado entitled Traveling Light, a look at the 23rd Psalm. And over the last few months we've been going through it verse by verse, following his chapters in the book, and we have come to the end. This is the final chapter entitled Almost Heaven, subtitled The Burden of Homesickness. They'll be looking at the last verse, which is, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So I will read it now. For the last 20 years, I've wanted a dog, a big dog. But there were always problems. The apartment was too small, the budget was too tight, the girls were too young, but most of all, Denalyn was unenthusiastic. Her logic? She'd already married one slobbering, shedding beast. Why put up with a second? So we compromised and got a small dog. I like Salty, but small dogs aren't really dogs. They don't bark, they yelp. They don't eat, they nibble. They don't lick you, they sniff you. I like Salty, but I wanted a real dog. A man's best friend type of dog. A fat pawed, big-eating, slurp you on the face type of dog who you could saddle or wrestle or both. I was alone in my passion until Sarah was born. She loves dogs, and the two of us were able to sway the household vote. Denalyn gave in, and Sarah and I began the search. We discovered a woman in South Carolina who breeds golden retrievers in a Christian environment. From birth, the dogs are surrounded by inspirational music and prayers. I don't know if they tithe with dog biscuits, but when the trainer told me that she had read my books, I got on board. A woman with such good taste is bound to be a good breeder, right? So we ordered a pup. We mailed the check, selected the name Molly, and cleared a corner for her dog pillow. The dog hadn't even been born, and she was named, claimed, and given a place in the house. Can't the same be said about you? Long before your first whimper, your master claimed you, named you, and hung a reserve sign on your room. You and Molly have more in common than odor and eating habits. Just teasing. You've both been groomed for a trip. We prefer the terms maturation and sanctification to weaning and training, but it's all the same. You're being prepared for your master's house. You don't know the departure date or flight number, but you can bet your puppy chow that you'll be seeing your owner someday. Isn't that the concluding promise of David in the 23rd Psalm? And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, he writes. Where will you live forever? In the house of the Lord. If his house is your forever house, what does that make this earthly house? You got it, short-term housing. This is not our home. Our homeland is in heaven, says Philippians 3:20. This explains the homesickness we feel. Have you ever longed to be home? May I share a time when I did? I was spending the summer on my 19th year working in northern Georgia. The folks in that region are very nice, but no one is too nice to a door-to-door salesman. There were times that summer when I was so lonely for home, I felt my bones would melt. One of those occasions came on the side of a country road. The hour was late and I was lost. I'd stopped to pull out a flashlight and a map. To my right was a farmhouse. In the farmhouse was a family. I knew it was a family because I could see them. Right through the big plate glass window, I could see the mother and father and boy and a girl. Norman Rockwell would have placed them on a canvas. The mom was spooning out food, and the dad was telling a story, and the kids were laughing, and it was all I could do to keep from ringing the doorbell and asking for a place at the table. I felt so far from home. What I felt that night, some of you have felt ever since your husband died, or your child was buried, or you learned about the lump in your breast or the spot in your lung. Some of you have felt far from home ever since your home fell apart. The twists and turns of life have a way of reminding us we aren't home here. This is not our homeland. We aren't fluent in the languages of disease and death. The culture confuses the heart, the noise disrupts our sleep, and we feel far from home. And you know what? That's okay. Homesickness is one of the burdens God doesn't mind if we carry. We, like Molly, are being prepared for another house. And we, like the parakeet from Green Bay, know we aren't there yet. Pootsie was her name. She escaped from her owner and came into the keeping of the Humane Society. When no one else claimed her, Sue Gleason did. They hit it off. They talked and bathed together, becoming fast friends. But one day the little bird did something incredible. It flew over to Mrs. Gleason, put her beak in her ear and whispered, yes, whispered, 1500 South Oneida Street, Green Bay. Gleason was dumbfounded. She researched and found that the address actually existed. She went to the house and found a 79-year-old man named John Screwbants. "Do you have a parakeet?" she asked. "Oh, I used to. I miss him terribly." When he saw his Pootsie, he was thrilled. You know, he even knows his phone number. Now, the story isn't as crazy as you might think. You have an eternal address fixed in your mind as well. God has set eternity in the hearts of men, says Ecclesiastes 3:11. Deep down, you know you're not home yet. So be careful not to act like you are. Don't lower the duffel bag too soon. Would you hang pictures on the wall of a Greyhound bus? Do you set up a bedroom at the roadside rest stop? Do you load your king-size bed on a commercial flight? Would you treat this world like home? It isn't. The greatest calamity is not to fear far from home when you are, but to feel right at home when you're not. Don't quench, but rather stir this longing for heaven. God's home is a forever home, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. My friends Jeff and Carol just adopted 2 small children. Christopher, the older, is only 3, but he knows the difference between Jeff's house and the foster home from which he came. He tells all visitors, "This is my forever home." Won't it be great when we can say the same? Couldn't we use a forever home? This home we're in won't last forever. Birthdays remind us of that. During the writing of this book, I turned 46. I'm closer to 90 than I am to infancy. All those things they say about aging are coming true. I'm patting myself less on the back and more under the chin. I have everything I had 20 years ago, except now it's all lower. The other day, I tried to straighten out the wrinkles in my socks and found I wasn't wearing any. I can relate to Dave Barry's description of aging. He writes, dental problems, intestinal malfunctions, muscle deterioration, emotional instability, memory lapses, hearing and vision loss, impotence, seizures, growths, prostate problems, greatly reduced limb function, massive coronary failure, death, and of course, painful hemorrhoidal swelling. Aging. It's no fun. The way we try to avoid it, you'd think we could. We paint the body, preserve the body, protect the body, and well, we should. These bodies are God's gifts. We should be responsible, but we should also be realistic. The body must die so the new body can live. 1 Corinthians 15:50 says, flesh and blood cannot have a part in the kingdom of God. Something that will ruin cannot have a part in something that never ruins. Aging is God's idea. It's one of the ways He keeps us headed homeward. We can't change the process, but we can change our attitude. Here's a thought. What if we looked at the aging body as we look at the growth of a tulip? Do you ever see anyone mourning over the passing of a tulip bulb? Do gardeners weep as the bulb begins to weaken? Of course not. We don't purchase tulip girdles or petal wrinkle cream or consult plastic leaf surgeons. We don't mourn the passing of the bulb, we celebrate it. Tulip lovers rejoice the minute the bulb weakens. Watch that one, they say, it's about to blossom. Could it be heaven does the same? The angels point to our bodies. The more frail we become, the more excited they become. Watch that lady in the hospital, they say, she's about to blossom. Keep an eye on the fellow with the bad heart. He'll be coming home soon. Romans 8:23 says, we are waiting for God to finish making us his own children, which means our bodies will be made free. Are our bodies now free? No. Paul describes them as our earthly bodies, or as other translations state, our lowly body, the body of our humble state. These weak, mortal bodies are simple bodies. You could add your own adjective, couldn't you? Which word describes your body? My cancerous body, my arthritic body, my deformed body, my crippled body, my addicted body, my ever-expanding body. The word may be different, but the message is the same. These bodies are weak. They begin decaying the minute we begin breathing. And according to God, that's part of the plan. Every wrinkle and every needle take us one step closer to the last step, when Jesus will change our simple bodies into forever bodies. No pain, no depression, no sickness, no end. This is not our forever house. It will serve for the time being, but there is nothing like the moment we enter his door. Molly can tell you. After a month in our house, she ran away. I came home one night to find the place unusually quiet. Molly was gone. She'd slipped out unnoticed. The search began immediately. Within an hour, we knew that she was far, far from home. Now, if you don't like pets, what I'm about to say is going to sound strange. If you do like pets, you will understand. You'll understand why we walked up and down the street calling her name. You'll understand why I drove around the neighborhood at 10:30 p.m. You'll understand why I put up a poster in the convenience store and convened the family for a prayer. Honestly, I did. You'll understand why I sent emails to the staff asking for prayers and to her breeder asking for advice. And you'll understand why we were ready to toss the confetti and party when she showed up. Here's what happened. The next morning, Denalyn was on her way home from taking the girls to school when she saw the trash truck. She asked the workers to keep an eye out for Molly and then hurried home to host a mom's prayer group. Soon after the ladies arrived, the trash truck pulled into our driveway. A worker opened the door and out bounded our dog. She had been found. When Denalyn called to tell me the news, I could barely hear her voice. It was Mardi Gras in the kitchen. The ladies were celebrating the return of Molly. This story pops with symbolism. The master leaving his house, searching for the lost, victories in the midst of prayer, great things coming out of trash. But most of all, the celebration at the coming home. There's something else you have in common with Molly. A party at your homecoming. By that moment, only one bag will remain. Not guilt, it was dropped at Calvary. Not the fear of death, it was left at the grave. The only lingering luggage will be this God-given longing for home. And when you see him, you'll set it down. Just as a returning soldier drops his duffel when he sees his wife, you'll drop your longing when you see your father. Those you love will shout. Those you know will applaud, but all the noise will cease when he cups your chin and says, "Welcome home." And with scarred hand, he'll wipe every tear from your eye, and you will dwell in the house of your Lord forever. That concludes the book. I hope over the last few months this has been a meaningful Bible study for you. I just want to let you know that starting in July, we will no longer be having any Bible studies on channel 955. We'll be going live, and I will be having them every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. over in the Water Tower Lounge is where we're planning to have them. You might want to check your calendar just to find the location for sure. But we're going back to what we did pre-COVID, and we're so thankful for that. As I have said many times, Bible studies are always best done live because we have the interaction, so I'm hoping to get a number of you there, hoping to return to what we used to do where we had some wonderful conversations. And so put that on your calendar, and it's another sign that the world's kind of coming back again, that we'll be able to do that. But in the meantime, we've been very grateful for the technology we have discovered here using channel 955, that we've been able to continue to reach out, make contact in the midst of these difficult past few months, and so we are thankful for that as well. So God bless, take care, and we'll see you live very soon.